Hello, my name is Milton Guardado. It's June 23rd. It's around 7 o'clock p.m. And I'm here giving you video diary number 3. The first question says, what is critical theory? Critical theory is where theorists view an organization as a site of domination where the interests of the dominant group, the workers, the owners, the management are related above the interests of the subordinate groups or the workers. And so it's when the management is always right. It says reveal the contradictions associated with the imbalance of power and provide a critique that will allow for the reversal of those conditions in the future. Management needs to be in the workers' shoes in order to get a glimpse of what they go through, to get an insight for themselves. How do we use critical theory to understand oppressive circumstances in the workplace? So the critical theorists, what they do is they go into the situations where they can understand what's happening in the workforce better. And so organizational communication scholars operating from a critical theory attempt to reveal how social and technological structures within an organization serve to oppress workers. And says, how do we understand power? Well, power is the ability of imposing one's will upon the behaviors of other person. It says hegemony. What is hegemony? Hegemony indicates the process by which one group actively supports the goal and aspirations of another dominant group, even though those goals may not be in the subordinate group's best interest. And so it says here, the subordinate group is actively participating in the maintenance of the dominant group's ideology. Hence, its means of control. Conservative control is based on adherence to socially constructed norms and values developed by organizational members themselves as they attempt to structure the environment. So workers set the expectation and guidelines of the environment and expect all the new members to follow it. Okay, so it says, share your thoughts on Emma Watson video from chapter 6. She is changing the meaning of the word feminism. She seeks equality for equal gender pay, decisions made for the life, respect the same as men. She also advocates for men's right to be treated fairly, freeing men from gender stereotypes. If men don't, something she says is, if men don't have to be aggressive, women don't have to be submissive. If men don't have to be controlling, then women won't be controlled. Both should be free to feel sensitive and strong. Perceive gender on the same platform. I like what she said about how each one of us needs to define each other by who we are and not what we are. And so she encourages fathers to do the same, to encourage encourage gender equality. As I read the workplace culture feature, how does this article highlight the need to understand organizational culture and the importance of understanding the critical theory's perspective as an employee? And so this article really delves into the core of the problem of most organizations with bad organizational structures and habits that are detrimental to the workplace. And so it describes ways that the leader can improve the culture and create a better work environment. If a leader can check his behavior, he can remedy much of the conflict in his office. So it gives it 8 different things that a leader can work on to change bad behavior within himself and to create a better work environment. The number 4, the Netflix video on how Netflix changes corporate culture, it was not available. I couldn't see it. It says the next one, it says, in the lessons learned case study, what was the ultimate lesson? How do you see organizational culture and critical theories intersecting to assist with your understanding of communication and organization thus far? There needs to be better communication within the organization. Some of the subordinates failed to speak up at a critical time. The making decision process was made difficult. It seemed as if some of them were waiting to hear what their leader was going to say so that they could agree with him in order to not walk on eggshells or not to be in disagreement with him. And so this is something that Donna noticed, that rather than confronting and creating an environment of accountability, people rather be polite. And so I noticed that the leader made all the decisions, not counting in the efforts of others. And so this is something that I've experienced myself in different organizations where people don't want to confront the truth or want to speak to the leader in a very truthful way. So the leader continues to dominate his authority over everyone. Have you ever been in a situation where you did not represent yourself accurately when applying an interview for a job? When I applied for a job as a pharmacy technician at Walgreens many years ago, I told them that I could type 35 words per minute. I can now, but at that time I couldn't. I was only 17 years old. And I also told them that I knew short code for typing up prescriptions, which I didn't. And so doing this would give me a bigger pay. So there was about a $3 pay difference between a regular employee cashier and a pharmacy technician, and I wanted those extra $3. And I didn't represent myself well. I still got the job, but it definitely led to different problems later on. About a year later, I couldn't fill the orders that they were asking me to fill because I didn't know how to type and all these things. So yeah, there you go. Have you ever been hired by an organization and they misrepresented your role in the company? There was a lot of, I was in an organization one time that there was a lot of misrepresentation. I was hired in an organization, and they hired me for one position that they later took back and they gave it to someone else, and they gave me a different role. I still did my best in that role, but one of the misrepresentations was the fact that the boss of the organization, he said he had an open door policy. We were going to have checkpoints and meetings to be able to discuss my new role that they gave me, that they changed up all of a sudden. And we were supposed to meet every Thursday to be able to check the progress. And we met maybe 3 times in the 3 years that I worked there. And so there definitely was misrepresentation. Discuss the reasons why applicants may embellish their application materials. One, I personally feel that they want more pay, advancements in their field to gain a sense of respect. Also, information is not complete because maybe they fill out the information based on their own interpretation of what was meant. Sometimes they could forget information, and so they just add a little bit extra to make it look better. It says, what perception would a potential employer have of you after viewing the results of Googling, searching your name? Have you ever searched your name? How often do you do it? Is this information accurate? The perception that someone would have is that I engage in social media. There's a lot of, the only things that pop up are a couple of old pictures and a couple of social media sites that I'm on. And I Googled myself a few times before just to check to see if there was any identity fraud happening. I wasn't faced with anything, but I was just curious, if concerned. And so as far as accuracy, it's a little outdated. So no, it's not as accurate. What are your thoughts about the recruitment practices at Bell South? I couldn't open this one either. I tried to open it a couple different times, and I don't know if it opens up with a different network or different. I use Safari, so I don't know if that's the problem. The next question says, discuss the reasons why a superior might deliberately engage in strategic ambiguity. Discuss the reasons why a subordinate might deliberately engage in strategic ambiguity. Please explain. A superior might engage in strategic ambiguity because he might assume that his employee should know him well enough to make the required conclusions on his own without too much direction. A subordinate might engage in strategic ambiguity to keep others out of the loop, thus making himself the more important asset, the more important worker to the manager. Another thing he could do is he might want to conceal information that he might not want to divulge to everyone else around him. Think of an instance where you or a friend may have practiced upward distortion. I believe I practiced upward distortion. A friend of mine was delivering a message. He was delivering a speech in front of a congregation, a big group. And after the message, he asked me how they went. And I honestly didn't want to tell him it was boring. I didn't want to tell him that he that he didn't really have a cohesive thought, and I didn't want to tell him all these things. I didn't want to discourage him. I didn't want to make him feel like he shouldn't succeed or keep going, and I probably should have told him the truth in a more, I guess, a cautious way or more craft way. And so what was the result? The result was that it led him to the impression that he was a great speaker when he really wasn't, and it really held back his progress in becoming a better speaker. What role does trust play in the supervisor-subordinate relationship? Trust helps to alleviate some of the vulnerability and provide for a mutual beneficial situation. Expectation that the other will act benevolently, a willingness to be vulnerable, and a risk that the other will not act accordingly. Some level of dependence, both the one with the other. And so I feel like trust really opens up a door to be able to be honest and to move further along than one would. It says, discuss the role of immediacy in the supervisor subordinate relationship. Why is acknowledging immediacy important? Well, immediacy deals with warmth or closeness between both the subordinate and the supervisor, and it could lead to confusion. So it's important to acknowledge it, because one might have feelings for the other, or they might misinterpret their relationship, and so it's important to create boundaries right away in order from having this relationship escalating to something that they misinterpret. And so this is my diary, video diary number 3. It's been a little lengthy, but thank you for viewing, and I appreciate your responses. I'll see you later.